See you in the next one, y'all. What's going on, guys? Back here, part 2 of this long-ass video. I know, it's fucking long, it's this shit, but at least y'all got one part with a lot of video game goodness in it. But this time we're going to jump right into it. We're going to be talking about the original Xbox games first. And first up, we have Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is developed by BioWare. And those are the same people that make Mass Effect, which is an insanely popular franchise. 1 through 3 were good. No, 1 was shit. I hate 1. 2 and 3 were great. Andromeda I haven't played yet, but people have mixed feelings about it. But I've heard really good things about it, and I've heard really bad things about it. I still want to play it. The only thing I regret about this one is it's the platinum hits. It has that silver shit all over it, and it has a silver case, which I don't really like. That's like the greatest hits versions on PS3 games, where it's like the red case, and I don't really think they look good. There's a lot of people that hate them. I don't like any of the greatest hits, like value titles. The different consoles call them different shit, but I wish I had just the plain black label, but I'll get it eventually. But no, this, if you have an Xbox and you don't have this game, you're not doing something right.
It's called They Don't Like Star Wars.
This, I have purely to drive on the track the wrong way. The same reason anybody has ever played a fucking NASCAR game. You get in the car, you turn around, and you're wrecking everybody. That's literally all you do.
Hell, me and my dad, we used to bet money on who's going to win at night.
For real?
Yeah.
Shit. This is a really popular racing franchise that kind of died out on the PS3 and the 360 because it came out with Burnout Paradise. But it was really big in the Xbox PS2 days, and they had Burnout 1, 2, and 3. This is 2, Revenge, and 3 was Takedown, probably the most popular one. But basically, it's really arcade racing, and the objective has always been to just crash into as many people as you can and wreck them off the road. It's really fun. It's really hectic. If you don't have at least one of them, go pick them up. Burnout Paradise was really underrated, really good. I don't have it currently, but I'm looking for it, so get it if you find it. This, another Xbox exclusive, is Crimson Skies Road to Revenge, and I actually heard a lot about this game on a bunch of hidden gems list for the original Xbox, and I saw it for $4 at a flea market, so I was like, why the hell not? Might as well get it. But it's actually a flight-based game, but it feels like something you would play in the arcade, because you fly around, you have really tight controls, there's all kinds of different planes to pick from. It's kind of like if you put Twisted Metal, but you had airplanes, and it was in the sky. That's basically what this is. If you like Twisted Metal, like vehicular combat type shit, then you'll probably like this. It's really, I don't know much about
like
the story.
Clown cars and all that.
Yeah, it's Twisted Metal. Sweet Tooth. Big ice cream truck. Yeah, I've got a couple of them over there I'll have to talk about. But, yeah, if you like those kind of games, you'll like this. Next game we have is Cell Damage, which is another, like, Twisted Metal vehicular combat game, but it was actually cel-shaded. And if you guys don't know what cel-shaded is, it's a visual style that some developers go for with their graphics. And some popular games that I know have done this, some popular games that I know to have done this, the most popular would probably be, the most popular game I've known to have done this is probably Zelda Wind Waker that came out on GameCube. That game is cel-shaded. If you know what that game looks like, which you probably do, that's what I mean by cel-shaded. But it's really fun, it's really cartoony, it's not really violent, it's meant to look violent, I guess, but it's just fun. It's a really good couch co-op game.
It's like that old cartoon, like on Looney Tunes, that Roadrunner.
Yeah, I like that. Next game is Oddworld Odyssey.
It's like a Mountain Dew game.
Yeah. Another Xbox exclusive. The Oddworld franchise started on the PlayStation 1, and I haven't got to play any of those games yet. I've heard they're really good. There was another game for the Xbox, Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, which took like a 3D perspective to it, because the original games were like side-scrolling platformers. They were kind of puzzle-ish games. I've heard they're really good, and I haven't got the chance to check them out. But I picked this up really cheap because I wanted it, and it was an exclusive. Haven't got to play it yet, so don't know. I don't really have any thoughts on it, but I'm sure it's good because the rest of the series is supposed to be really good. Next up, we have Blinks the Time Sweeper, which was a very odd game. It was
looks like Crash.
Yeah, kind of. It's one of the few. It's not the only, but it's one of the few 3D platformers that came out on the original Xbox. And you're basically a cat that time travels. And a lot of the gameplay goes through, like, you collecting power-ups, and you can, like, slow time and rewind time and stop time and stuff like that. You use time to your advantage to, like, solve puzzles and shit. But, it's supposed to be really good, and it's supposed to be infamously hard near the later levels, and a lot of people who have played it actually haven't beaten it because it gets so difficult near the end. I'm looking forward to playing it. That game, if it's good enough, I might just do a review on that just because I want to, because it sounds really good. Next game, which is definitely a hidden gem on the original Xbox, and that I hadn't heard about until a few months ago, actually, but it's really surprising because it's a BioWare game, same people that made Mass Effect and the Knights of the Old Republic series, like I mentioned earlier on the original Xbox, but it's called Jade Empire, and it's basically just an RPG like the rest of them. This one, unlike Knights of the Old Republic, has a real-time battle system instead of like a turn-based battle system like it had. Haven't played it yet, but I've heard really good things about it. But I was just really surprised because it was a BioWare game and I had never heard of it. But I was lucky enough to find the limited edition, which comes with a bonus disc, which I'm not sure what the hell it has on it, but it's really cool just to find any kind of limited edition anything. And the last game we have is Indigo Prophecy. Now, this is not an exclusive. It also came out on the PS2. But this is probably my favorite game development team, Quantic Dream. This was their first title. And if you don't know who they are, they're the minds behind Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls that came out on the PS3, as well as the they made a tech demo, something about a wizard. The name's not coming to me right now. I'll put a picture of it in here. And then they're making the new upcoming game, Detroit Become Human, which I don't pre-order many games at all. I pre-ordered Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy because I knew I was going to like that game. And the same goes for Detroit Become Human, their newest upcoming game. I pre-ordered it because I know I'm going to love it. Heavy Rain is my favorite video game of all time because that was the first game that I've ever played that made me feel like I wasn't playing a game and like I was watching a movie. Because that's essentially what these games are that they make. They're interactive dramas. They're not really video games in a sense. It's like you're watching a movie, but you get to control the characters, and it's really neat. I haven't played this one yet, but I know when I do play it, I'll probably beat it in one sitting. So I'm really looking forward to playing it. Really cool concept. And then this seems like just an average Battlefield 1 steelbook case, but it actually has an interesting story behind it. So, me and my friend Jinx, you've probably seen him on Bubba's channel, actually go into GameStop one day, our local GameStop, and we're talking around with it was a new store employee there, and he's a really nice guy. He's one of the only reasons I like to go to that GameStop now, because it had become under new management, and it got really shitty there for a while, but that guy's made me want to go back to it. But I walk in, and me and him were just randomly talking about video games, just different shit that was coming out, shit that they had in stock. I was asking him if it was any good, any recommendations. Then all of a sudden he goes, "Hey, do you have Battlefield 1? I was like, "Nah." He was like, "Well, do you want a case for it?" I was like, "Why not?" So he just pulls out the steelbook, and he was like, "Yeah, I've got the game, but I don't really like the case," or, that's not what the fuck he said. He was like, "Yeah, I've got the game, but I don't really need the case, so you can have it if you want it." And I was like, "Well, fuck, that's cool, thank you." So I walked out of there that day. I didn't fucking buy anything, but he gave me a free steelbook of Battlefield 1, which, if I ever get the game, I'll have the fucking steelbook for it at least. And I actually found somewhat use for it, and that's why it's included in the Xbox portion, is because the game that I was talking about earlier that came in the disc drive of the Xbox when I bought it was this game, and I didn't have any other cases to put it in, or like sleeves, like I showed with Gears of War 2, so I actually just stuck it in here, so I made good use of it. But like I said, that's just a really, it's kind of a fun first-person shooter, but it's not that good. I personally wouldn't recommend it. But that is it for the Xbox games, and next we're going to move on to the PS2 games. Let me pause it. Alright, now we're moving on to the PS2 games. These I have more than any other console games for, so I'm probably going to try to go through them quick. First up is Crash Nitro Kart. Started with Crash Team Racing on the PS1, then went to this, then there was Crash Tag Team Racing, which wasn't as good as the previous two. But it's a Crash racing game. If you haven't played it, play it. It's good. Next up is what I was talking about just a while ago, Crash Tag Team Racing, which introduced a new concept of being able to combine cars with other people. Cool concept. It was one of them things that sounds better on paper. Next up, Destroy All Humans, which you play an alien that comes to Earth, and you basically get to destroy the human race, and they do all kinds of fun shit. If you haven't played this, you really do need to play this. They brought it back with a third game, because 1 and 2 came out on the PS2, and then Return of Big Willie, I think it was called, on the Wii, came out, and that game I haven't got to play yet, but I've heard it was really good, and really faithful to the originals. The next game I have, which, oddly enough, is the rarest game, or the most expensive game that I have in my collection, is Drakengard. And I didn't realize that it got up in price until I was going through on my game inventory app on my phone and putting in all the shit that I had. And I found out this game has actually shot up to about $35 now, which is not like insanely expensive, but it's a lot more than most of the games that I have. But it's real fun, like hack and slash game. There are sections when you're on the ground fighting just soldiers. And there are sections where you get to fly the dragon and like breathe fire and cool shit like that. It's a really cool game. If you haven't played it, check it out. If you can find it for cheap. I wouldn't pay the $35 for it. It's not like that. This, big part of my childhood, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. This is one of the games that I grew up with playing with my cousins. Everybody pretty much likes Tony Hawk's games. I mean, if you can't find one of them that you like, you're gonna find one of them that you like. It's hard not to.
I didn't like that one.
This one was my favorite one growing up. It's not the best one, but it was my favorite one as a kid, and it's the one I remember playing the most. Next up is Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, which this is the only Virtua Fighter game I've ever played, and it's the only one that I own. And I picked it up because I was looking for some good fighting games for the PS2, and this one popped up on a bunch of lists. And it's actually really cool. I actually really like the fighting engine in this game. And like I said, I'd never played it before. It's not really like anything that I'd played before. It's kind of a mix between Tekken and Soul Calibur, if you can imagine that. But it's pretty good. Next up, another game that I was getting when I was into the fighting games, trying to find some good ones, is Tekken 4. If you don't know what Tekken is, I can't really help you.
Why another movie?
There was a fucking movie?
Taken?
Tekken.
Oh. I swear you're saying Taken.
Tekken, not Taken. not Liam Neeson. Tekken. Goddamn, the Japanese fighting game. No. But Tekken 4, it's not one of the best ones, but it's not one of the worst ones either. I prefer like 1, 2, and 3 on the PS1. But this one's not bad. Haven't been able to find 5 anywhere. I'm still looking for that one. Next up, another fighting game is Tekken Tag Tournament, which a lot of people say is their favorite Tekken game. It's really cool. It just introduced the concept of being able to fight with 2 people at a time and switching out when one of them dies, which, I mean, I guess that was like kind of big at the time, but now almost every fighting game does it in some way, shape, or form. So it's not that big of a, like, genre defining breaker at this point, but it's pretty good. I honestly prefer Tekken 4 more, and I know people, hardcore fans, will hate me for that, but I like it. Next up is really good couch co-op game. Not a great game in general, but I think it's really good mindless fun. And that is The Incredibles: Rise of the Underminer. And this, actually, in my opinion, brought forth a lot of fan service because we never got a sequel to The Incredibles. And I think they're actually in the process of making a sequel now. But for the longest time, the movie never had a sequel, and it ended on such a cliffhanger. And if you remember, at the end of it, the Underminer, which is the main antagonist of this game, actually came out of the ground and was talking shit, and they were all like, "Ugh." So it was pretty cool. It basically continued on the story from the movie, and that's why I liked it so much, because it was basically another Incredibles movie. Like I said, really fun couch co-op. Cool game. Next up is The Thing, which is another type of fan service game because this is actually a sequel to the John Carpenter's movie. I never played the game, and then I watched some gameplay footage of it, and I'm kind of glad I didn't play it because it's not that great of a game. It tried to introduce some new concepts, like from the movie where the Thing would take over your teammates' bodies, and you would have to like check them out and make sure that they weren't actually the monster and that they were still people, but it just didn't play out very well. It would benefit so much from a modern remake. This game would. I can't really recommend it because it's supposed to be horror, but it's not really that scary. Next up is Monster Jam Urban Assault. If you've never played any of the Monster Jam games, this would be the one to start with because you get to go around in a urban city setting and basically just race through like New York and shit like that. And there's a bunch of like arcade modes where you play like skee ball as monster trucks. It's pretty cool. Next up is Need for Speed Carbon. Personally, one of my favorite Need for Speed games, the one I grew up playing. This is what Need for Speed was to me when I was a kid. It hasn't aged that well, but it's still fun. It has a really good story. This was a sequel to Need for Speed Most Wanted, if nobody knew that, or if you didn't know that. Which, that's another game that I'm looking for because I don't currently have Most Wanted for the PS2.
I used to have it for PSP.
Yeah, that was the... Yeah, they had it on PSP, but they remade it and put it back on PS3 and 360. Next up. Next up, we have Need for Speed Underground 2, which most people consider to be, this is the definition of Need for Speed, because this is when the series was at its best. This had the most car customization, the most diverse races, and everything you could think of that should be in a racing game is in this game, and it has a great soundtrack to go with it. So, this, if you've never played a Need for Speed game before, this is what you need to get. Next up, one of the other more expensive, rare type of games in my collection is Silent Hill 2, a game that I've been meaning to play for years now because I've had this for probably a year or two. Picked it up when it was cheap. It's around $25 now in the U.S. Not sure about other regions, how expensive it is over there, but it's supposed to be one of the greatest survival horror games out there. One of the it's usually heralded as one of the best PS2 games out there, and I still haven't gotten around to playing it. I need to get the enhanced edition on the regular Xbox because I actually kind of want to play through that one because it has all the extra content. Next up, the game I probably spent the most time playing as not a kid, because when I was a kid I played Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, but as I got older, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is probably the game that I played more than anything. I probably have over 200 hours put into this game. Just how many times I fucking played it. I literally, anything that you could do on this game, I did. I beat the story. I played through the space missions. I played through like the space campaign, where it was like you were on like a grid and you had to move up and you could attack each other and all that shit. Played all the Jedi battles, space battles. It was really cool. It still holds up. It's still one of the best Star Wars games out there and one of the best PS2 games out there. Have If you find that game, I don't care how much it is, it's worth the price tag. If you think they're overcharging for it, they're not.
$10 million.
It's not worth $10 million, but it's worth a lot. It's pretty good. Next up is Naughty Dog's second franchise into gaming, and that is the Jak and Daxter series. And this is the first one, Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, which I think it's a good game. I haven't beat it yet, but it's really fun. Like I said, it's basically just when Naughty Dog came back. This is the series that they made, and it was really popular. Also, there's Jak II, which introduced a lot of the gun combat versus the platforming and action combat from the first game. And this game wasn't so widely received as well as the first game, but it was still, I think it still sold really well. Next up, we have Jak III, which took all of the platforming and action-based combat from the first game and the gun combat from the second game and meshed it all together in one. And this is usually what people consider to be the best in the series. Next, we have Jak X Combat Racing, which was a racing game for the franchise. I played it. I don't think it's as good as people make it out to be. It's not that great. It's not bad, but it's not that good. I don't know why so many people love this game. Maybe it was good for the time because I just recently played it a couple months ago for the first time, and it has not aged that well. It's not bad. I am missing Jak and Daxter The Lost Frontier for the PS2 because that was technically the last game in the series. It wasn't made by Naughty Dog. It was taken over by another development team. They did really poorly to it. It was not a very well received game. It was a pretty shitty game from what I've heard, but I still wanted to complete the collection. Next up, another Lego game, Lego Star Wars the video game, which actually has episodes 1, 2, and 3. Like I said before with Lego Lord of the Rings, if you played one Lego game, you've played them all, but the Star Wars ones are probably my favorite. And the Indiana Jones ones, those are fun as fuck too. Next up is Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition Remix, and this is probably still one of my favorite racing games of all time. This game, unlike Need for Speed Carbon, played both of them a lot as a kid. This game actually aged well. But the thing this had over Need for Speed, in my opinion, when I was a kid, in this game, it's not just cars. There's motorcycles, there's street bikes, there might be trucks, and there's Jeeps. Not Jeeps, Hummers. But there's a lot of shit to drive in this game, and you can definitely spend a shit ton of time in it. It's made by Rockstar, so it's pretty much, if Grand Theft Auto, you couldn't get out of the car, and all you could do was race. But imagine as big a city.
Like Midnight Club.
Yeah, this is Midnight Club.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. It's Midnight Club 3.
Oh.
Imagine Grand Theft Auto, you can't get out of the car, you can't do any like side missions where you shoot people, but it's all about racing, but the world is just as big, and you have just as much shit to do. That's what you get with Midnight Club 3, and it is worth the purchase. 1 and 2, I've only played 2, I haven't played 1, but 2, 3 is really good though. This game, I don't have the game, I only have the case. It's been pissing me off for the longest fucking time because I really want the game. Because this game is going for upwards of $40 now. It definitely skyrocketed, as with the other games I'm sure are probably just as expensive, if not more. But is Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly, a really popular Japanese horror series. The first game did really well. It was called Project Zero over in Japan. Fatal Frame 2. Fatal Frame 3 didn't do as well. And then I think we had a 4th game and a 5th game that came out on like the Wii, but I've never seen them. I've never got the chance to buy them, but I've always wanted to. But I have the case and the manual. I don't have the game, which sucks ass. And I still need to pick up a loose copy of the game somewhere if I can find somewhere that will sell it to me. Next up is Final Fantasy XII. This game, if you haven't played it and you've played other Final Fantasies, this is not a Final Fantasy game. This is, imagine taking an MMORPG, all the elements of that, but it's not playable online. It is a single player MMO. It has a huge fucking world. It has tons of monsters to fight. It has a big ass story. It's a long ass game. It's really fun, but it's a single player MMO essentially. It's a really neat concept. I like it. Some people don't like it. I think it's fun. This game. You don't know what the fuck this game is.
I gave that game to you.
I know. This is actually, this case is just a placeholder case, kind of like the Battlefield 1 case for black. This actually is just holding my copy of San Andreas. Bubba Spit actually gave this to me, and I haven't found a case for it yet, anywhere in the wild or at a store or anything. But it's in a Madden NFL 10 case, and this motherfucker used it for like some science project or something, and turned it into like this black glob of shit, and then fucking gave it to me with a game in it. He was like, "Here, you want this?" I was like, "Fuck, why not?" I was like, "What the fuck did you do to the case?"
I was
Did you
painting.
shit and then you run out of toilet paper or something?
I used it for like a painting prop thing.
But no, that's a really funny story behind it. Next up is, I don't give a fuck what you say. Grand Theft Auto 5 is good. San Andreas is good. Nobody really likes 3. 4 was complete shit. 6 has not been announced yet, but I'm still waiting. Vice City. Motherfuckers, if you have not played Vice City, you have not played video games. This is the 80s on a PlayStation 2 disc. That's all it is. It's fucking Mafia. It's 80s pop, 80s rock, motorcycle gangs, movie stars, porn stars. Everything that you can think of that was popular in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s is in this game. It has not aged that well, but this game is still the best Grand Theft Auto game out there. I guarantee you. Next up, one of my favorite racing game franchises, series, Gran Turismo. I don't have 4, but I do have 3 A-Spec, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec, and it's the best simulation racing game series out there. People will fight you and say Forza's better. I've always been a PlayStation fanboy over Xbox because I grew up with it, so I'm always going to go with Gran Turismo rather than Forza. But they're both great franchises. If you have both systems, play both of them. They're both great, but I just grew up with Gran Turismo. Next up, I have Guitar Hero 1 and 2 Dual Pack, which I kind of regret giving away the... I actually don't have either of these games anymore.
Yeah, you do. Still have one.
Where the fuck is one at then?
Back in that one.
Give me a second. Motherfucker, it's not back here at all. Okay, I actually don't know what happened to 1 and 2, but I do have 2 Guitar Hero games in here. I have Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock, which is the best Guitar Hero game. And... you fucker. And Guitar Hero World Tour, which is actually pretty good too. But I had traded Guitar Hero 2 for World Tour some time ago, and then I think I just lost Guitar Hero 1 because I don't know what the fuck happened to it. If you haven't played Guitar Hero, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. They're really fun. I actually do have 2 guitar controllers over there that I didn't show off earlier. I'll throw in a picture of them right here, though. Just a basic red and black one. But yeah, that is it. Nope, that's not it. Ha, psych. Fooled you, bitch. Next up is a game that I do not have a case for, and that's Resident Evil 4. A lot of people say that this is their definition of Resident Evil. People want to bitch about Resident Evil 5 and 6 not being like Resident Evil. This, to me, is not Resident Evil. If you want Resident Evil, go play 1, 2, and 3. This is where the series started to decline from its roots. But this is still a great game, but this is where it became not Resident Evil. You can fight me all day on that. But
Why would you say that?
Because the original Resident Evils were survival horror. When this came out, it was just over the top, like third-person shooter action. This, I don't think, is Resident Evil. 1, 2, and 3, yes. Code
7?
Veronica, yes. 7, yes. That brought it back to its roots. What were some other ones? Even the ones on Wii, those were like on-rail shooters, but still, they were kind of horror. I mean, not really, but any other ones before 4, pretty much. Outbreak 1 and 2, those were still Resident Evil. This was not. I don't know why people think that it's the be all end all of Resident Evil, because it's really fucking not. It's not that fucking good. I mean, yeah, it's a good game, but it's not Resident Evil. Next up, a game really sadly I don't have a case for, because I've wanted one for a while, because this is probably my favorite RPG on the PS2, and that's Dragon Quest VIII: Journey of the Cursed King. And if you haven't played this, it is a Square Enix game, same people that make Final Fantasy. But this, if you like turn-based and you like random encounters, you like big open worlds, you like really over-the-top high fantasy stories, you like JRPG games, this is for you. This is where it's at. This is the best of the best. And if you haven't played this, you need to. Really great game. Recommend it to any fans of RPGs. That's going to do it for the PS2 side of things. Next, we're going to be moving on to the PlayStation 3. This thing we have for the PS2 is actually not a game, but it is the only one I've ever seen, because I thought they stopped making them after cartridge-based games. But it is an action replay disc for Enter the Matrix. And what action replay is, for anybody that doesn't know, is you put this in your console, and it will give you all the cheat codes for whatever. Bubba's fucking face. He's like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
If you put an action replay cart or a disc like this into your system, it will basically unlock everything in the game and basically make the game to where you can't lose. And I don't really like using them for any games, but I mean, Enter the Matrix I think is supposed to be pretty shitty anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But it even says, like, up here in the fucking corner, it says 100% unofficial, like they're fucking proud of not being official or something. That threw me fucking off guard. And then on the back it was like, very clearly, this is not a game, bitch. I was like, okay. But then you open it up, and it's like some fucking bootleg piece of shit looking, looks like some motherfucker did it in their house on Windows 95 looking fucking piece of shit. It looks like somebody just took a disc, burned it off, and stuck some stickers on there or some shit. And it still says 100% unofficial, and it says this is not a game. Like, motherfucker, we get it. We get it, okay? But you're supposed to be able to put that in, and then, like, enable which cheats you want, and then put in the game, and you'll have all those cheats on there. I don't have the game to test it out, but I really want to get the game to just see if that motherfucker works.